So I get it, it's only February, it's definitely just a little bit early to be talking about the playoffs, but not really, because we're going to be there in the blink of an eye. Season is more than halfway over, and some of the standings are starting to look like we're getting an idea of what we could be getting in the playoffs. And if you follow me on Twitter, I keep tweeting about these mandatory playoff series, these series that I just need to see play out. So based off of where we stand today, I am coming up with a bracket and trying to see how the East and West could play out to give us the most entertaining series, in my opinion. Maybe you'd like to see something different, but I'm going off of what I'd like to see, and I'm also trying to mix it with what's realistic. And inside the middle of both the East and West, kind of, anything could be realistic, because you have a situation in the West where the 6 seed and the 2 seed are only separated by 4 games, and inside the East there's still a lot of potential for moving parts as well. So let's just dive in. If I'm looking at the Western Conference, here's the thing. 8th seed is still very much in play, so that complicates this. The Grizzlies sit there, they are currently 13 games out of first. You have Portland 2 games behind them, San Antonio 2.5 games behind them, and then New Orleans a full 5 games behind. Now, originally, again, you follow me on Twitter, I absolutely wanted to see the Pelicans play the Lakers in the first round for obvious reasons. I want to see Zion versus LeBron to start off his playoff career. I want to see the old Lakers going against the Lakers in the playoff series. I think it's very obvious why you would want that. However, 5 games is more than it seems. The Grizzlies are very solid this season. That's what's causing all the controversy this morning about Iguodala refusing to play for them or whatever's going on with that situation. It's kind of screwy. Either way, I think it's going to be very difficult for the Pelicans to make up a 5-game difference, because you don't just have to win games. The teams in front of you have to lose as well. So the margin for error is just razor thin, and they're still trying to work in Zion, who on offense is doing amazing, but definitely giving up a lot on defense. So I'm not 100% sure that it's realistic to expect them to make up this difference over the next half of the season. Very possible, absolutely possible. Injuries can happen, anything can happen, but they are fighting an uphill battle. That being said, when you mix in a little bit of reality and what teams can make the 8th seed, I would rather it just stay how it's going to be. If it's not going to be the Pelicans, I want a Memphis and Lakers first round. The Grizzlies have something awesome going on with this young core, and John Morant, Jaren Jackson, Dylan Brooks, Clark. Like, it's very awesome to see what's going on there, and especially, it's just Twitter fingers this morning is all we're seeing. Steph Curry, John Morant is I don't want to say picking a fight with Curry, but I think he's poking the bear a little bit. But he's got that Kobe mentality right now of, hey, these are killers, I'm a killer too. And it's not just Twitter fingers. We've seen Ja try to annihilate people this year. He's tried to jump over Kevin Love. He's tried to catch multiple bodies, and he's playing overall with some of the most confidence I've ever seen out of a rookie. So for obvious reasons, I would rather see that play out against the Lakers in the first round. When you have a group like that led by a guy like John Morant, I would rather see that in the first round than having a redo of, Portland and Damian Lillard. As much as I appreciate Lillard and what he's doing on the scoring tier, he's absolutely one of my favorite players to watch. It's just that we already know how this story with Portland ends in the playoffs, especially if they're going against a team like the Lakers in the first round. So I'd rather see a young and upcoming team there. Obviously, I don't really care to see San Antonio going against LA. Yeah, give me a Grizz in LA first round. Moving on, we need the Clippers to be in the 2nd seed. We need that to happen, and right now they hold a 1-game lead over Denver. It's going to be tough, but the thing is, if the Clippers fall out, we run the risk of having the Lakers and the Clippers in the 2nd round and not the conference finals. So fingers crossed, hope they hold on to that. It's actually not even impossible for them to take over 1st seed. It's just not likely. But no matter how it plays out, Lakers and Clippers absolutely need to be 1 and 2, or else it's gonna be like every other year in the playoffs we've ever had, where a series was ruined because it happened too early. Either way, I have written down here the Clippers and Mavericks. So Dallas is currently only a game above 7th place. I'd like to see them fall back so they can play the Clippers in the 2nd round if this is how it's going to hold. Luka and KP versus PG, Kawhi, the Clippers. I think that's just a really fun matchup. The only other team I would really care to see them play in the first here would be Houston, just because the Texas connection. However, I'm more intrigued in that perimeter matchup and watching how Luka would be defended in that series, so that's what I'm gunning for there. Then the 3-6 matchup. I am gunning for Houston at 3 and OKC at 6. So OKC is currently in the 7th seed, and they could very well take over 6. That could happen. I know, it's amazing, especially when you consider what happened this offseason. So if we can get OKC there, if you can get Houston to move up, they are 2.5 games out of third right now. Again, gonna be tough, but it is very doable. Everything is still moving around. That would be awesome. The two teams that had this major trade during the offseason, OKC was expected to be at the bottom of the West because the West was supposed to be a bit more competitive than it is. We didn't see some of these teams falling out. However, they could move into the heart of this Western Conference, and that would be crazy. Chris Paul versus Westbrook. Westbrook's first playoff series happening in OKC where he spent his career. Harden back in OKC. There's very obvious reasons you would want to see this series happen. And I might be pushing a little bit, but I want it to happen in the 3-6 because originally I had that written down as the 4-5 matchup. However, if Houston does end up 4th and the Clippers end up 2nd, it is hard to imagine the Houston and Clippers series ever happening, which is one that I really do want to happen. Houston has played them well this season. So if that happens in the 3-6 matchup, we can also get the matchup I really want to see, which is Utah and Denver, and that would be at the 5-4. I really want to see that. It just seems appropriate. Those are the two teams I think that when you look at them, they're two good teams, but I don't think they're the teams that anybody really believes in the Western Conference. Even though they're both playing magnificent basketball, it's just the same thing it's always been. It's people look at the brightest stars, and although Utah and Denver have all-stars now, people aren't quite as familiar with them as they are with the other teams. Either way, I don't know, their matchup just makes sense to me. The colors, that's stupid as fuck. The makeup of the team and how they're viewed, everything. I really want to see Utah and Denver. I very much enjoyed their game last week. So also, if that happens at the 5-4, again, that allows OKC and Houston to possibly happen at 3-6. That sets up the ideal second round. That is where you likely get the Lakers, and you could get Denver or Utah, but I'm gonna go Denver. I really like playoff Jokic. So that's what I want to see in the second round, would be the Lakers and Denver. And then the Clippers and Houston. Absolutely need to see that. Like I said, Houston has played them very well this year. You have the whole thing with Westbrook and Patrick Beverly. You get Harden versus Kawhi. This is kind of a playoff matchup that I was envisioning in my head way back when the season started and these rosters got set. And so we're cutting it close. This is a series again. There's a lot that can happen with the 1 and 2 slot with the Clippers and Lakers. There's a lot that can happen in the middle, and some of these series just may be spoiled. So if we can get it to happen this way, it would be perfect. We would still get Denver and Utah, which I really want. Then we would get the Clippers and Houston. That would be a dream for me. And then I think that would set up the ultimate Western Conference Finals, which is the Lakers and Clippers. I think they would both be the expected winners of that series, even though I think Houston would give the Clippers a run for their money. I think they would do better than most people think. But yeah, the bigger picture here is 1 Lakers, 2 Clippers, or however that happens, that has to be the Western Conference Finals. If we have to sacrifice anything else, those two need to meet for very obvious reasons. Who knows how long we're going to be able to hold on to these rosters and this energy that we have right now. So that's how I want the West to play out. The Eastern Conference is a little less complicated. First of all, 7 and 8 is probably going to be Brooklyn and Orlando, regardless of which seed those teams actually land in. At this point, there's a cutoff point. The Brooklyn Nets are 20 games behind first, so they're 8 games behind the next seed. The Nets are 8 games behind Philly, and even at this midway point, there's really, I don't see that happening unless there's some major injuries. There's no way that Brooklyn is going to be leapfrogging that. And then in terms of the fight for 8th seed, you're looking at the Chicago Bulls being 4 games behind the Magic and Washington being 5 games, or 4.5, but same difference. Honestly, with the quality of those teams and seeing how streaky they are during the season, I don't really imagine that they're going to be making up that difference. Although possible, maybe they can go on a run. It is doable, absolutely. But I think the Magic and Nets will be holding on to 8 and 7. And so then it's just a matter of which one of those we want to feed to Milwaukee, because that's going to be a series where Giannis is probably going to be able to just play a few minutes, get in, get a little warm up, get a little stretch, and sweep that. So honestly, it doesn't even matter, but just because, I guess, who really cares to watch the Magic play? I guess we would rather see Kyrie Irving in a series with Giannis. So sure, here I would rather have Brooklyn end up the 8th seed, so they end up playing the first seeded Bucks, who at this point are pretty much 6.5 games above the next seed, so there's really no chance that they're gonna fall out. Moving on, believe it or not, so I can see the rest of the playoffs play out, I would rather have the Raptors keep the 2nd seed. Right now they are only a game and a half in, so of course, again, a lot of this stuff is changing, but just based off of where we are right now, they can keep that. They're playing really good. I really enjoy the fact that they've been able to stay at a highly competitive level, not just be a good team or a decent team, they're still highly competitive despite losing the finals MVP. That's incredible. So yeah, the Raptors Magic, who cares? Like, who fucking cares who plays the Magic? I don't think I have any Magic fans that follow me. Who cares, bro? Toronto and Orlando, I guess. However, I would rather have it play out that way so we can get something like a Boston and Philly in the 3 and 6. Of course I want to see Boston and Philly again. That's been happening for years now. There's always been a thing there. Al Horford is there. However, I am making this whole bracket without any kind of bias towards the team I actually want to win the championship and whatnot. So yes, Celtics fan, but I think Philly would still get us in that series, even if they were to stay in 6th seed where they are right now. I just think the matchup, unless Boston pulls off a trade in the next couple of hours and they get a big man, it's kind of hard to imagine that they're going to get 4 games off of a team that A, they've lost 2-3 times this season, and B, just don't match up with well. Philly is one of those sleeper teams. I feel like that's really bad for other teams that they are all the way back there, because that's not a matchup you really want in the first round. You want easier matchups in the first round, and I think Philly just, they present some problems in terms of matchups for certain teams, and Boston is definitely one of them. However, I still like to see the series go down. And then, of course, 4 and 5 Miami and Indiana, especially after what happened between Jimmy Butler and TJ Warren. That may be worked out well before the actual playoffs, but Indy is a very good team. They're going to have Oladipo back. They've held the fort without him all year. This is going to be awesome. It is awesome that they did not fall completely out. It's awesome that they're pretty ingrained in the Eastern Conference. They could even end up with the 4th seed, which I don't think is as likely because Miami is really good. But yes, I would love to see that as a playoff series. I think that'd be entertaining, and it has some extra outside stuff to it as well. So that's how I'd like my first round to play out. Then in the second round, I think that's where you obviously are going to get the Bucks in Miami if this is how the seedings hold. And then the second round on the other side, I guess Toronto and Philly. Toronto would definitely beat the Magic, and again, I believe that Philly would be able to get Boston, so that would set up the most awkward rematch really ever, because you had the 7-game second round last year, but the guy who really made that go is not there anymore. Yet Toronto would still have the upper hand yet again in this match. They'd be second. They'd have home court advantage at least, and that would be crazy to imagine, especially when coming into this year a lot of us thought that Philly was going to finish ahead of them. So that'd be very awkward, but because of the history there, I'd love to see it. And in the conference finals, at that point, I want to see the Bucks in Philly, because like I said, the Sixers aren't doing great this year compared to their expectations. Things are a bit awkward with Ben Simmons not shooting even though the coach said that he wanted him to, and trying to figure out what Al Horford is doing. However, like I said, for certain teams, they present a very awkward matchup, and Philly has shown over the years that they can play Giannis pretty well. And so despite them, if they come into the playoffs as a 6th seed, I would still like to see them in the conference finals going against the Bucks. I thought that would have been a really good matchup last year. I honestly don't want to see a Bucks and Toronto matchup again. Even though Siakam has done a really good job stepping in place of Kawhi, I just don't think it has that flair to it like it did when you had 2 MVP level players, 2 top 5 players, and I think the Bucks would definitely be able to take that as well. So I'd rather see them against a team where I'm saying, okay, I wonder how this is going to work out on the floor. The matchups are very awkward, so that's why I would like to see Bucks in Philly. And then in terms of the NBA Finals, look, I think we find ourselves in a situation where for the finals to be really interesting, it really needs to involve Giannis from the Eastern Conference this year. We've all come under the assumption that the Western team is probably going to be the Lakers or Clippers, even though there is a lot of parity there and there's some series that look like they could swing a different way. The expectation generally is that you're going to have one of those 2 teams, and I just don't really care about like a Clippers and Toronto series, even though Kawhi Leonard Toronto last year, yeah, sure. I don't know, that one just doesn't interest me as much as something with Giannis. I'd rather see something like Giannis and LeBron. What I think, just from where we are right now, I think it would most likely be the Bucks and Clippers. That's my actual pick. But if I just got to go wild and say what I wanted to see if we got to that point, that's where I'm looking for like Giannis and LeBron, because Giannis trying to win his first championship, LeBron going for his 4th and trying to win a title for his 3rd different franchise. So there's just a lot there that I would love to see. And hell, I'd even like to see Giannis rematching Kawhi, but instead in the NBA Finals instead of the conference finals. So I really think for the finals to be super interesting this year, it really almost has to have Giannis in it. I mean, sure, the Sixers can be there as well, and then maybe Ben Simmons and LeBron, but I don't think anything is cool as seeing Giannis trying to win his first ring against either of these teams, really. So that's where I stand right now. Again, we're only in the beginning of February. The trade deadline is about to go down in about 2 days. However, I've been tweeting about this entire year about playoff matchups that I want to see, and with there actually being some level of parity this year, this is definitely something I wanted to talk about. And again, time is flying. Literally 2 months from now we'll be at the beginning of April, so we're not as far off as you think, but a lot could happen and a lot of these standings could change, so definitely an entertaining season. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button, comment, and sub. There is a chance I'll be streaming today, so definitely follow on Twitch if you'd be interested in seeing the Legends League live, which is the gameplay in the background. Also, hit the like button, comment, and sub if you enjoyed, and hit the bell next to my name if you want notifications every time a video drops. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.